Okay, thank you. Very nice to be here. And EyePoint is public, so here's our forward-looking statements. Go to our website, you can see all of our SEC documents. And EyePoint, as many of you may know, we are a ocular drug delivery company, and we've got a proven drug delivery technology called Durasert. We're quite pleased with where we are with it. Most importantly, as our asset EYP-1901, which is in phase 1. We call that our DAVIO trial, and that is for wet AMD. I'll go into that in a little bit more detail. We also have YUTIQ 50, which is a potential twice-yearly treatment for posterior uveitis, and we expect to initiate our first patient dose still this year. And we continue to evaluate other molecules, small molecules that can be used in Durasert. Now, of note, why do we like Durasert so much? It's been FDA validated and approved in 4 drugs so far. The other issue is it has sustained zero-order kinetics. We believe that that could provide better outcomes because it provides a very steady, consistent microdose every day for however long we decide to let that release for. And of note, because it has been in 4 FDA-approved products, it's been administered safely to thousands of patients' eyes across these products. We also have 2 drugs on the market, YUTIQ, which is our once every 3-year implant for posterior segment uveitis, and DEXYCU, which is indicated for the prevention of inflammation following ocular surgery. And we continue to report a nice rebound in revenues following the lockdown the country had. Now, here's just a schematic of our Durasert drug delivery. We've always done well with this. We like the way that it releases. And you can see here, the nice thing about it too, it's a single in-office intravitreal administration, and it provides that very stable release to the back of the eye. Here's our 4 FDA-approved products. YUTIQ, as I mentioned, we commercialize. ILUVIEN, commercialized by Alimera for diabetic macular edema. Retisert, still on the market from Bausch Health now for uveitis. And then Vitrasert, no longer available. That was offered years ago for the treatment of CMV retinitis. And then, as I mentioned, our 2 drug development candidates, EYP-1901 for wet AMD, that is up to every 6-month drug delivery, and then YUTIQ 50 for posterior segment uveitis. Okay, now let me talk a little bit about our platform. As I mentioned, we're in phase 1 for wet AMD, and we hope, pending the results of the DAVIO study, to go into diabetic retinopathy and retinal vein occlusion, as well as potentially wet AMD in phase 2 next year. And then, as I mentioned, YUTIQ 50, which will be filed as an sNDA, that'll be a 60-patient trial, should be initiated this year. We're on track for that. And that'll just go in as an sNDA with this one 60-patient trial for once every 6 months. That'll be a companion to our YUTIQ once every 3-year for posterior chronic uveitis. Now, spending a little bit more time on EYP-1901. Obviously, I don't need to go through this. Everybody's up here talking about it, but the name of the game right now is let's try to get this extended duration treatment out to our patients. And as we know, these patients continue to lose vision primarily because they just can't make those office visits so frequently for the rest of their lives. So what exactly is 1901? It's a combination of Durasert with a proven tyrosine kinase inhibitor anti-VEGF called vorolanib. And vorolanib is a TKI that was given as an oral therapy up through phase 2 to treat wet AMD. And of course, no surprise, it had the well-documented TKI side effects. So we then in-licensed worldwide rights to be able to deliver this intraocularly. And as you know, it does block all 3 isoforms of the VEGF receptor, which is the main driver of wet AMD. This is just a schematic of how it actually works. And again, you've seen there are a couple other companies that are using these TKIs. It is a small molecule. That's the one advantage. And we do believe it could provide some interesting efficacy because it blocks at the receptor level coupled with multiple receptors in the VEGF family. Now, this is the phase 2 data that when it was delivered orally, and you'll note here, it has a very nice dose response effect. And the percent of patients going from placebo all the way out to 200 milligrams that were rescue-free at 8 months is 20%. Now, that may not seem like a lot, but please note in this trial, they had extremely strict predefined rescue criteria for any fluid at all. Patients had to be rescued, and any new or increased macular hemorrhage as well. So despite those, I would say, even ultra conservative rescue criteria, they still showed very, very nice effect, and most importantly, a dose response effect. And interestingly of note as well is that in the placebo group, again, most of you know that when patients present with wet AMD, oftentimes they do see progression into the fellow eye. I believe there was a Journal of Ophthalmology article that recently came out showing that over 5 years, about 30 to 35% of patients progress in that fellow eye. And in this case, they followed in the placebo group, 12.5% of subjects converted at 1 year into the fellow eye. But of note, the patients who were given vorolanib orally, you can see here a very nice, again, dose response effect, 3.8% converted at 12 months in the low dose, 0 in the mid and high dose converted. So it's an interesting data point, and one that we hope to explore further. So this is now going into EYP-1901. Our preclinical results in the 6-month GLP tox had no unexpected safety findings and a good dose response as well. So based on this, we went into our phase 1 study. Here's our phase 1 DAVIO trial. We have 17 patients total enrolled. 1 to 2 weeks following the last injection of an anti-VEGF, they were enrolled in the study, and it is an open label dose escalation with no control arm. We have 3 doses, 0.4 milligrams, 2 milligrams, and 3 milligrams. And then we expect our readout at 6 months. We have announced that we are going to have a late breaker at AAO for these data. We'll be announcing 5-month data on the top cohort and 6 months data on the low dose and mid dose. And importantly as well, we've already announced 30-day safety results across all dose cohorts. These are the 17 patients with no serious AEs, ocular or systemic, were reported. No serious AEs related to intraocular inflammation, or actually any adverse events related to ocular inflammation, or related to BCVA reduction, elevation of IOP. And again, you can see the list here, which are unfortunately common AEs associated often with intraocular delivery. We're quite pleased with the safety so far. We also announced in the first dose cohort, we went all the way out till 6 months, and that safety continued to look good in that first dose cohort. So this again marries up with what we've seen in our marketed drugs using Durasert, and of note, please, this is a bioerodible form of Durasert in the EYP-1901. So we're really actually quite excited about where we are. We look forward to announcing our results at AAO. We do have $127.6 million of cash as of June 30th. We did report $8.7 million in product revenues in Q2, which was a 136% increase over the prior year. You can see again that rebound from the pandemic. And we expect our cash and anticipated funds to last us through the end of 2022. Thank you.